Hi there, Nigel Saunders here of KW Bonsai. One of the tasks I do late winter is I try and get all my trees ready for the summer growing season. The growing season here in Ontario, Canada is only about 4 months in the summer where my tropical trees can go outside. In order to get the most out of the outdoor 4-month growing season here, I need to have the tree repotted, I need to have the tree pruned. So when summer comes, the tree goes outside, all it has to do for the summer is grow. This tree needs repotting, and if I were to wait until the summer months to repot it, I will set back the growth of the tree, maybe even lose a month of that growing season, while the tree grows new roots and it recovers from its repotting. Up top on the tree, I want to do the same thing. I want to have all the structure of the tree sorted out, so when summer comes, all I'm doing is growing a new set of branches that'll fill out in the summer, and then it can be pruned again later in fall. The operations I do today, repotting and top pruning, will prepare the tree for the summer. So when it goes outside in the summer, all the tree has to do is grow for those 4 months. With a clip and grow bonsai, the hardest part is letting the tree grow. So today we're going to do all the clipping, and the tree is going to grow for the entire summer. This method will give you the maximum amount of growth that you can get in a summer of growing a bonsai. I'm going to start on the top of the tree today. I'm going to prune it to a umbrella-shaped profile, and then I'll go in and do some more detailed structural work to it. So the easiest method for determining your canopy is to kind of put your hand over top like this. See the shape you want. I could go from a flat top tree to a really rounded canopy like that, but I want it somewhere in between, sort of maybe about there. For the top profile pruning, I won't be using my new bonsai branch cutters, but I'll be using these long scissors. They're nice and sharp, and they have a nice long blade. So when I'm rounding the canopy, it just makes it a lot easier. So here I go. I'm not really concerned where I'm cutting. I just want to get the profile correct. Definitely needs to be more rounded. So I'm going to come in here and take more off the sides here. And again, I'm pruning a rounded shape front and back, less of a rounded shape front and back, and a bit more of a rounded shape side to side, which is how a tropical tree grows. Looking from back here, it's getting pretty close. I like the curvature. I think that's a nice curvature. I think yeah, I think that's a good kind of tropical tree curvature. I could trim just a little bit more off this side here. It's sticking up just a little bit too much. I'm happy with the rounding of the canopy, both left and right, and front to back. After I'm done the pruning, I just spray down the tools with soap and water. I use dish detergent or liquid dish soap and water and wipe the tools down. This gets any sap off the cutting surfaces, and it helps sterilize them so they're ready to go for next time. Profile pruning like this is just the first step in developing your canopy. It gets rid of anything sticking up out of the canopy that you just wouldn't use. And it's a fairly brutal process, but it gets the job done. The amount of curvature you put on your canopy on a tropical tree, there's no right or wrong. It's what looks good to you. There's some trees in nature that have quite a rounded top. Others are even more flatter than this tree. So it's up to you what you like. Just go on the internet and look at, the full-size trees in the wild or in cities, Check out the curvature to the top canopy and decide how you want your tree to look. Because this tree is growing so strongly, it has a great root system, I'm going to defoliate the tree so I can get in and look at the structure of it and do any correction that needs correcting. With all the leaves on, it's hard to get in there and see what's going on. For leaf pruning, I'm still not going to be able to use my new fancy branch cutters, but I will be using these curved surgical scissors that I've sharpened so they're really nice and sharp and good for cutting the leaves off. So when I remove the leaves, I'm just cutting it at the base, leaving a little bit of the leaf stem still attached to the tree. It's interesting with this tree. If I had $1 for every time I had someone tell me that I should have trunk chopped this to make it a shorter tree, or that I need to wire these branches all down and on a downward angle like a pine tree, I'd be rich. Yeah, I had to ignore everyone. When I was growing this tree from a small seed, it was a long, tall, skinny trunk for many, many years. But I had the design intention of making it a large broom-style tree. So I didn't listen to people telling me I had to trunk chop it and wire the branches down. I just did my own thing. And I'm glad I did, because I'm liking the styling of the tree. It has a long way to go before it's, looks really, really good, but it's slowly getting there. I'm happy with the progress. And I'm happy to be part of the progress. I've had this tree for a long time. This will be my 25th year with this tree from a seed. It's interesting to note that on this tree there are some straight branches. There's some branches that go, for quite a length, and they're fairly straight. And this is something that I find gives a bonsai tree a bonsai look, is that there's a lot of bonsai trees that don't have any straight branches on them. They always have to be twisting and curling, and to me that looks like, if you've ever seen that children's art made out of macaroni, where it dips up, dips down, dips up, dips down, it kind of like a little wave. A lot of bonsai trees look like that. There's just too much bending in the branches, and it's kind of refreshing, for me anyway, to see some straighter type branches. When I go outside and look at trees, or if I study trees on the internet, I see these major branches looking like this. I don't see them with, has to have a change of direction every 1/4 of an inch or every few millimeters. It's kind of refreshing to see some straight sections in a tree, like a straight trunk and some branches with some straight sections. So that's one thing that makes a bonsai tree look like a bonsai tree to me, and not like a full-size tree you'd see in nature, is that there's just too much bending going on. I'm finding my pruners are starting to get sticky with the latex sap, so I'll just give them a spray with the soap and water and wipe them down. That takes all the stickiness off them. So I'm ready to prune again. I've got the tree all defoliated, and now we've got to go in and look at the structure of the tree and do any corrective work to the branches. Pruning the structure of a tree like this can be overwhelming, and as this tree develops further in the years ahead, we'll get more and more ramification, and it'll be even more overwhelming when you're faced with the task of pruning it. So the first thing I'm going to look for on this tree is branches that are not flowing outwards from the tree, but are growing in towards the trunk. There's a branch right here that has a branch growing in towards the design. So here's that branch here I'm going to remove with my new branch cutters. There we go. Over on this side of the tree too. I have a branch that's growing in towards the tree here. So I'm going to prune that off right here. There is a leaf bud on the outside here, so hopefully the branch will grow off in this direction towards the back of the tree. There's another trunk right here that's crossing a whole bunch of branches. It comes straight up and it's crossing all these branches. I think I'm going to take that branch right off. It's just sticking up too vertically. There we go. For the next operation, we have to go up top and look down on the tree. And I'm going to look for crossing branches. For instance, in this area, there's a lot of confusion. I've got branches crisscrossing. There's 3 branches all on a cluttered section here. So they could be wired, but I don't want to put any artificial curves in this tree. I want to do with pruning. Here's that cluttered section right here. So I'm looking for the flow direction of the branches. I don't want to put any severe kinks in them or anything. So this one flows out nicely. This branch could be removed or shortened. So I think I will shorten that. And I'm going to take it off down here. That gets it out of the way of these other 2 branches. And the other branch I'm going to shorten is this one here. I may have to shorten that even more. I may even take that right off. I think I will. I'm going to take it off. Just like that. And that cleans up the clutter in that area. I've got a lot of clutter in this section also. Yeah. That gives them lots of room to grow. I'll be going over the structure of the tree now, looking at every branch, sorting it out. I know my profile is roughly to where I want the shape of the canopy, so I don't want to shorten it too far from there, but I will make some adjustments to the branch tips, sorting them out. I've got what I would call the horticultural side of the pruning done, eliminating any overlapping branches and ones that are growing the wrong direction. Here's my pile of branches I've pruned off, so some but not a whole lot. I'll give you a view of the overhead shot of the tree so you can see the branch structures. Most of it's worked out. There's still some branches that will need pruning in future, but have to wait for some growth to come in. So the next step now is to go in and look at it artistically. So I want to go in and see if there's any branches that can be eliminated or wired or repositioned, sort of set the structure for the next growth period. So my next step, I'm studying the tree and I'm looking at the branch structure, and I'm looking to see if there's anything that I don't like that can be eliminated. You know, branches that don't flow with the trunk line, branches that just look out of place. So I'm going to study the tree probably for, 10-15 minutes, maybe longer, and decide if I need to remove any major branches or even minor branches, just to take a look at the tree and see where it's at and see what I need to do. I've had a good look at the tree and I've marked all the branches in question with a twist tie, just to mark them so I know they need to be looked at and addressed. Let's start here. There's a small branch in this area that I just have to remove. There we go. Going up top here on the tree, there's a branch here that kind of grows out towards you, kind of crosses the main center of the trunk like that. So I think I'm going to have to remove that. there is a branch underneath that's growing up in the same position that will develop and it'll flow a little nicer. So I'm going to take that one off. Higher up on the tree I have a branch, just a small one coming out here, that I don't want and don't need. So I'm going to eliminate that. Like so. Behind that, I have a fairly major branch. And it comes towards the back, and there's another one lower down that does the same. They're in the same place, occupy the same amount of sunlight. So I'm thinking of removing this one. It doesn't have a very nice direction to it. And I can always grow this lower one up and replace that branch in that area. So I'm going to remove this one. Let me just rotate it around so you can see it a little more clearly. Yeah, so I have two parallel branches, one above each other in this area. So I'm going to take off this higher one. So here I go, removing this major branch. And I think it'll help the tree a lot. There we go. It's gone. Yeah, that gives, this part of the trunk goes to the right hand side, and I can grow this up as a secondary trunk to the left, and it'll keep the apex over the center of the tree. So I finished pruning up the tree and getting all the major crossing branches removed. Any branches that are interfering with the design I've removed. The structure still has a long way to go. There'll be more improvements as I get more branching. I can eliminate other branches and slowly work towards a really nice tropical tree structure for the tree. The last couple of years I've been growing a lot of aerial roots at the base of this tree, and I've got to decide what I'm going to do with the base of the tree. What I'm going to allow to grow. Am I going to prune some aerial roots off? What do I want the base of this tree to look like in future? I do like the roots that come out and kind of grow, the twisty roots above the surface of the soil. There's all kinds of roots that keep growing out of them, touching into the soil. I do like those. They look very wild and ficus-like. I'll show you some pictures off the internet of roots similar to this on a ficus tree. And I'll show you the kind of look I hope to get from these roots someday. Most ficus roots that come from the trunk cling tightly to the trunk and grow down alongside the trunk. These ones, because they grew in the air, and I kind of guided them with leaves to keep them on somewhat of an angle, they look very natural growing in the air like this. We'll take a look at the bases of some other trees, some ficus trees, and you'll see this type of root growing in the air and buttressing down to the soil. In part 2 of this video, I'll be styling this root base and repotting the tree. So stay tuned for part 2 coming up.